Dr. Nova stood, transfixed, as the holographic display rendered the impossible. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the chill of a NASA Deep Space Communications facility, but from the weight of what she was witnessing. The data streaming from Voyager XI, a probe presumed lost for nearly 3 decades, was rewriting human history. "This can't be right," she whispered, more to herself than to her colleague, Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, who stood equally stunned beside her. But the evidence was undeniable. The ancient artifacts depicted in the transmission, the DNA sequences, the star maps, all pointing to one earth-shattering conclusion. Humans hadn't evolved on Earth. We had come from somewhere else, a distant world orbiting an unfamiliar star. "We need to contact the director," Marcus said, his voice hoarse. And then the president. Nova barely heard him. Her attention was fixed on one particular sequence of images showing what appeared to be humans, anatomically modern humans, walking among structures of impossible antiquity, dated to over 3 million years ago, long before Homo sapiens should have existed. "Everything we know is wrong," she said quietly, then turned to face Marcus. "But first, we need to verify this data, every scrap of it, because once this gets out, nothing will ever be the same." The call came at 3:17 a.m., jolting Colonel David Reeves from the first decent sleep he'd had in weeks. His hand fumbled for his phone in the darkness of his Arlington apartment. "Reeves," he answered, military crispness overriding his fatigue. "Colonel, it's General Hammond. I need you at Pentagon SCF-7 in 1 hour." Reeves sat up, instantly alert. Strategic Command Information Facility 7 was reserved for matters of extreme national security. "Yes, sir. May I ask what this is about?" A pause on the line. "It's Voyager XI. It's back in comms range, and it's carrying something we weren't expecting. That's all I can say on an open line." The call ended, leaving Reeves staring into the darkness. Voyager XI had been launched 28 years ago, an ambitious deep space probe designed to venture farther from our solar system than any human-made object before it. Contact had been lost after a promising start, and the mission was eventually written off as a costly failure. Until now, apparently 90 minutes later, Reeves sat at a conference table with 11 other people, a mix of military brass, NASA administrators, and scientists. The room hummed with nervous energy as Director Lawrence of NASA stepped to the front. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Lawrence began. "What I'm about to share has been independently verified by 3 separate teams at NASA, JPL, and DARPA. 48 hours ago, we detected a signal from Voyager XI, which has somehow managed to not only survive, but return to our solar system on a trajectory that will bring it close to Earth in approximately 14 months. He clicked a remote, and the room darkened as a projection appeared on the wall. "This is the first data packet we received." The image showed what appeared to be a stone tablet covered in unfamiliar symbols, intermixed with what were unmistakably human figures. The probe transmitted over 30 terabytes of similar data, including this. The next slide displayed a DNA double helix with highlighted segments. Dr. Chen stood up. "Those highlighted segments are uniquely human DNA sequences, ones that have no evolutionary precedent in Earth's fossil record. They are genetic jumps that have long puzzled geneticists." A murmur rippled through the assembled group. "Additionally," Lawrence continued, "we have received detailed star maps and what appear to be navigation coordinates to a planet approximately 147 light-years from Earth." General Hammond spoke next. "We believe Voyager XI encountered an automated alien archive or beacon of some kind, was reprogrammed, and sent back to Earth with this specific information. The implications are obvious and deeply concerning from a national security perspective." Colonel Reeves frowned. "You're saying humans are aliens? That we came from this other planet?" "The evidence suggests something even more complex," Dr. Chen replied. "It appears we were engineered, created using genetic material from another world but designed to thrive on Earth." "Created," Reeves repeated. "By whom? And why?" "That," said Director Lawrence grimly, "is what we need to find out. And we have 14 months until Voyager XI reaches Earth orbit with whatever else it's carrying." Dr. Nova hadn't seen daylight in 72 hours. Her makeshift office in the secure facility beneath Johnson Space Center had become both workplace and living quarters as she led the team analyzing the Voyager data. She stared at the screen before her, eyes burning with fatigue. The translation algorithm they developed was primitive, but it was beginning to decode the alien language. If that's what it was, embedded in the transmissions, a knock at her door broke her concentration. Colonel Reeves entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He'd been assigned as military liaison to the scientific team, though Nova suspected his real job was to ensure national security protocols were followed. "Thought you could use this," he said, placing a steaming cup on her desk. "Thanks." She took a grateful sip. "Any update from the director?" Reeves shook his head. "The president has been briefed. A select group of world leaders will be informed next week. After that," he shrugged. "How's the translation coming?" Nova gestured to her screen. "We have identified recurring patterns that we believe represent time periods. If we are right, the records Voyager encountered go back over 3 million years. And they specifically mention Earth. Yes, there are repeated references to Earth's coordinates and specific genetic markers unique to our planet's biology." Reeves settled into a chair across from her. "So, someone engineered humans to live on Earth 3 million years ago? That contradicts every piece of evolutionary and archaeological evidence we have." Nova shook her head. "Not exactly. The fossil record shows hominid evolution, but there are inexplicable leaps, particularly the sudden emergence of higher cognitive functions and complex language. What if those weren't random mutations? You're suggesting our evolution was guided or accelerated." She pulled up another file. "Look at this sequence. It appears to be a timeline of interventions spanning millions of years. Small genetic tweaks, each building on the last." Reeves studied the display. Why would an advanced civilization spend millions of years slowly engineering a species? "I don't know," Nova admitted, "but I think we will find answers when Voyager returns. The probe's memory banks contain far more data than what's been transmitted so far." Reeves was silent for a moment. "Do you ever wonder if we are better off not knowing?" Nova looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Think about it. This information changes everything. Human history, religion, our very identity as a species. The social upheaval alone could be catastrophic. Truth is better than comfortable ignorance, Colonel. Is it? Even if that truth destroys the foundations of human society." Before she could respond, her computer chimed. A new data packet had arrived from Voyager XI. "This is odd," she muttered, scanning the incoming information. "It's transmitting on a different frequency now, and the data structure is completely different." Reeves leaned forward. "Could it be malfunctioning?" "I don't think so." Nova's fingers flew across the keyboard. "It's not just sending data anymore. It's responding, almost like it's engaged in a conversation." "With whom?" "Not with us." Nova's face paled as understanding dawned. "It's communicating with something else. Something out there." The presidential briefing room was silent as the assembled officials absorbed the latest update from the Voyager XI research team. "Let me get this straight," the president said, breaking the tense silence. "Not only is the probe bringing back evidence that humans were engineered by an alien civilization, but now it appears to be in communication with." "What exactly?" Director Lawrence cleared his throat. "We believe it's communicating with autonomous systems left behind by the same civilization. Dr. Chen's team has determined that Voyager encountered what amounts to an ancient monitoring station at the edge of our solar system. One specifically designed to recognize and interact with Earth technology once it reached a certain level of sophistication. A tripwire," General Hammond interjected, "or a milestone marker, but not a threat," the president pressed. "We don't know," Lawrence admitted. "The communication appears to be one way for now. Voyager transmitting updates about Earth to the monitoring station." "Updates about what?" Colonel Reeves spoke up. "About us, Madam President. Our level of technological advancement, population size, resource consumption, and genetic diversity. It's essentially reporting our status." The National Security Advisor leaned forward. "Which raises the obvious question, why would anyone need that information unless they were planning to act on it?" An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. "What are our options?" the president finally asked. "We could attempt to destroy or disable Voyager before it returns," General Hammond suggested, "though doing so might trigger automated responses from whatever system it's communicating with. Or," Dr. Chun countered, "we could allow it to return and extract all the information it carries. Knowledge is our best defense, especially if we are being monitored." The president rubbed her temples. And how do we prevent global panic when this information becomes public? Because it will become public. Something this significant can't be contained indefinitely. We need to control the narrative, said the communications director. Frame it not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Humanity discovering its true origins. Colonel Reeves shook his head. With respect, sir, you can't spin this. Once people learn they're essentially a science experiment conducted by an unknown alien civilization, traditional power structures will crumble. Religious institutions, governments, educational systems, all are founded on assumptions this revelation contradicts. Then we prepare society gradually, the president decided. Release the information in stages, beginning with the scientific community. Let them debate and validate before we take it to the general public. Director Lawrence nodded. We have just over a year until Voyager arrives. That should be enough time to develop a comprehensive disclosure plan. And, added General Hammond, to prepare our defenses just in case whoever created us decides it's time for a performance review. The news broke 3 months later, not through official channels, but via a massive data leak that cybersecurity experts later traced to multiple sources simultaneously. Someone, or several someones, within the classified project had decided humanity deserved to know the truth. Nova watched the global reaction unfold from the isolation of the research facility, which had been placed under military lockdown following the leak. Screens around her displayed news feeds from around the world, protests outside religious institutions, emergency sessions of government bodies, scientific conferences hastily convened to analyze the leaked data. It's chaos out there, Reeves said, entering her lab with a tablet displaying more news feeds. Stock markets have plummeted. 3 religious leaders have declared the information blasphemous. And Russia is accusing us of fabricating the whole thing as psychological warfare. And yet the world keeps turning, Nova observed. People are shocked, frightened, angry, but they are adapting. Humans are remarkably resilient. For now. But Voyager arrives in 9 months. And who knows what else it's bringing with it. Nova turned to face him. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. I have been analyzing the communication patterns between Voyager and the monitoring station. There's something we missed. She pulled up a complex waveform on her main display. These signal bursts aren't just status reports. They're test results. Reeves frowned. What kind of tests? I think Voyager, or whatever is controlling it now, is conducting remote assessments of our technological capabilities, social structures, even our moral frameworks. How can it possibly assess human morality from deep space? By analyzing our global communications, our responses to crises, how we distribute resources. It's been gathering data on humanity for weeks now. Reeves stared at the display. And what's the purpose of these tests? Nova hesitated. I believe we are being evaluated to determine if we are ready. Ready for what? Contact, she said simply. Or reclamation. Or extinction. I don't know which. That's not very reassuring. Doctor, it's not meant to be. Nova stood and began pacing. But I have had a thought. What if this isn't the first time we have been tested? What if previous human civilizations faced similar evaluations? You're talking about lost civilizations? Atlantis and such. I'm talking about cyclical interventions. The alien records showed a pattern of genetic adjustments over millions of years. What if technological development was similarly guided or occasionally reset? Reeves considered this. You think we're a part of some grand experiment that periodically gets wiped clean and started over, or graduates to the next level, Nova countered. If we were created or engineered by this other civilization, they must have had a purpose in mind. And you think Voyager's return is a final exam? I think it's a threshold. Pass or fail. Reeves was silent for a long moment. Then we'd better make sure we pass. 6 months later, the International Space Station had been evacuated and repurposed as a quarantine facility for Voyager XI's imminent arrival. A joint international mission had been hastily assembled to intercept the probe, examine it in the relative safety of Earth orbit, and determine what, if any, physical artifacts or organisms it might be carrying. Colonel Reeves, now Brigadier General Reeves following a rapid promotion, watched from mission control as the Intercept team made their final approach. The 5 astronauts, American, Chinese, Russian, Indian, and Nigerian, represented the first truly global space mission, assembled out of necessity rather than diplomacy. Intercept team has visual confirmation, announced the flight director. Voyager XI appears intact, but significantly modified. The video feed from the team's spacecraft showed the approaching probe. The original NASA design was barely recognizable beneath layers of unfamiliar technology that enveloped it like a metallic cocoon. "My God," someone whispered behind Reeves. Dr. Chun, who had insisted on being present despite the military's objections, leaned forward. "It's been completely transformed. Capture team, proceed with extreme caution," instructed the mission commander. "Remember protocol. No direct contact until the probe is secured in the ISS quarantine module." The team acknowledged and maneuvered their craft closer. Robotic arms extended to grapple the modified probe. "Wait," Dr. Chun suddenly called out. "There's something." Before she could finish, the probe emitted a brilliant pulse of blue-white light. The video feed dissolved into static. "We have lost telemetry," the flight director announced, voice remarkably steady given the circumstances. Attempting to re-establish connection. Tense minutes passed as technicians worked feverishly to restore communications. When the video finally returned, the probe was gone. "Where is it?" Reeves demanded. "Unknown, sir. The Intercept team reports it. Disappeared." "Disappeared?" "Things don't just disappear in space. The team is intact," the flight director reported. "No damage to their vessel. They are reporting some kind of energy discharge from the probe immediately before it vanished." Dr. Chun was already at a console, reviewing sensor data. "It didn't disappear," she said. "It transformed. The energy readings suggest a phase shift or dimensional translation of some kind." "Into what?" Reeves asked. Before she could answer, alerts sounded throughout mission control. "We have multiple objects entering Earth's atmosphere," announced a tracking specialist. "Hundreds, no, thousands of them. Small, controlled descents. They're dispersing globally." On the main screen, a map of Earth displayed thousands of red dots appearing simultaneously across every continent. "Is this an invasion?" Reeves asked quietly. Dr. Chun shook her head. "I don't think so. The objects are too small, too dispersed. This isn't a military action." "Then what is it?" "A message," she replied, "delivered personally." The objects, gleaming, egg-shaped artifacts roughly the size of a human hand, landed in population centers across the globe. No impact damage was reported. They simply appeared, hovering momentarily before settling gently onto the ground. Initial panic gave way to cautious curiosity as it became apparent the artifacts posed no immediate threat. Within hours, identical scenes played out in town squares, city parks, and village centers around the world as crowds gathered around the mysterious objects. Dr. Chun and General Reeves were in Washington, D.C. when one of the artifacts descended onto the National Mall. They pushed through the gathered crowd, their government credentials securing them access to the military perimeter that had been hastily established. The artifact hovered 6 inches above the ground, rotating slowly. Its surface rippled with iridescent patterns that seemed to shift in response to the movement of the onlookers. "Don't touch it," Reeves warned as Chin approached. "I don't think that's necessary," she replied, gesturing to where civilians in other parts of the perimeter were already reaching out to the object. As their hands made contact, the artifact emitted a soft blue glow. Without warning, the object before them projected a holographic display, a 3-dimensional map of stars with one particular system highlighted. Similar displays were activating around the globe, each calibrated to the location and local language of its audience. That a voice emanated from the artifact, not through sound but seemingly directly into the minds of all present. A perfect telepathic translation. "Children of Earth, the time of reunion approaches. For 3 million years, we have watched and waited as you evolved from primitive beginnings to the threshold of true awareness. You were seated here, a genetic blend of our essence and Earth's native life, to grow in isolation, to develop your unique potential unfettered by the constraints of our civilization." The holographic display shifted to show what appeared to be historical scenes. Early humans receiving subtle guidance from beings of light, the construction of now ancient structures, the gradual advancement of human technology. You were not abandoned, but given freedom, not exiled, but entrusted with a world of your own. Earth was not your birthplace, but your cradle, A protected environment where you could develop the resilience, creativity, and determination that now define your species. Images of human achievements flashed by. Art, architecture, scientific discoveries, acts of compassion and courage. The probe you knew as Voyager XI did not find us by accident. It reached the boundary we established, the milestone we set for you to achieve before contact could be initiated. Your creation of this probe, your extension of awareness beyond your solar system, signaled your readiness for the next phase. The star map reappeared, with a clear path now marked between Earth and the highlighted system. We offer you a choice freely made. Continue your independent development, or rejoin the interstellar community that awaits you. We are your ancestors, but you have become something new, something unique in the cosmos. The voice paused, and the artifact pulsed with gentle light. Choose your path forward. You have one orbital cycle of your world to decide. The knowledge to reach us exists now within these messengers. Use it wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the artifact hovering silently. Around the world, identical messages have been delivered simultaneously in thousands of locations. Nova stood transfixed, tears streaming down her face. "We are not alone," she whispered. We were never alone. Beside her, Reeves appeared equally moved. "All this time," he said quietly, "we thought we were abandoned on a cosmic shore. But we were being protected, nurtured, and now we have to decide whether to leave the nest," Nova added. Around them, the crowd's initial shock was giving way to animated discussion, to wonder and speculation. There was fear, yes, but also something Nova hadn't expected: hope. The year that followed became known as the Year of Decision. Governments initially attempted to seize control of the artifacts, but their efforts proved futile. The objects were impervious to containment and would simply phase through any barriers erected around them. More importantly, the message had already been delivered to humanity as a whole, not to its political leaders. Global communication networks strained under the weight of the constant discourse. Religious institutions grappled with the theological implications. Scientists worked feverishly to understand the technology embedded within the artifacts, which seemed to adapt its complexity to match the comprehension level of whoever interacted with it. Nova became the reluctant face of humanity's response, her role in the Voyager XI discovery making her a natural spokesperson for the scientific community. She traveled constantly, consulting with researchers around the world who were studying the artifacts and their gradually unfolding information. "The technology they are offering us is beyond revolutionary," she explained to General Reeves during a rare moment of respite in her Washington office. "Clean energy, advanced medicine, faster than light travel. It's all there, encoded in the artifacts, presented in ways that allow us to learn rather than simply receive. An educational approach rather than a technological handout," Reeves noted. "Teaching us to fish rather than giving us fish." Exactly. And the information unfolds based on how we interact with it. Ask militaristic questions, and the artifact goes dormant. Ask about healing or exploration, and it reveals more. A test of character, even now. Nova nodded. "I think that's always been the point. They didn't engineer us for our bodies, but for our potential, our capacity for growth, creativity, and compassion. And yet humanity remains divided on how to respond," Reeves said. "The latest polls show 43% in favor of accepting the invitation, 38% opposed, and the rest undecided. People are afraid," Nova acknowledged. "Change is terrifying, especially change of this magnitude." "It's more than that," Reeves countered. "Many see this as the end of human autonomy. If we accept, we become junior partners in an interstellar community. If we refuse, we risk isolation or obsolescence." Nova considered this. "I don't think either outcome is predetermined." The message emphasized choice, real choice, that suggests respect for our independence, regardless of which path we take. "And which path do you favor, Doctor?" She smiled faintly. "I think you know the answer to that. We have been looking to the stars since we first developed consciousness. Now we have a chance to reach them. Even if it means acknowledging we are not the pinnacle of creation, that we are essentially someone else's project. We are more than that," Nova insisted. "Did you hear the message? You have become something unique in the cosmos. Whatever their original intention, we have evolved into something they value. perhaps something they didn't expect. Reeves was silent for a moment. My grandfather was a Lutheran minister. He used to say that the purpose of parenthood is to raise children who eventually don't need you anymore. Perhaps that's universal wisdom, Nova suggested, even for beings from another star. The day of decision arrived, with a global population more united in purpose than at any previous point in human history. The message had been clear. Humanity's choice would be determined by consensus, somehow measured through collective interaction with the artifacts. Central Park in New York City had been chosen as the focal point for the North American response, with similar gatherings occurring simultaneously at sites around the world. Hundreds of thousands of people filled the park, surrounding the artifact that hovered above the Great Lawn. Nova and Reeves stood at the edge of the crowd, watching as the appointed hour approached. "Whatever happens," Reeves said quietly, "it's been an honor working with you, Doctor." Nova smiled. "Likewise, General, though I suspect our work is just beginning." A hush fell over the crowd as the artifact began to pulse with increasing brightness. Similar reports were coming in from around the globe, all the artifacts synchronizing, preparing for humanity's response. An formal vote had been taken. No single leader had been appointed to speak for Earth. The message had made it clear. This was to be a decision of the human species as a whole, measured in some way beyond conventional polling or politics. The artifact rose higher above the crowd, its glow intensifying until it became a miniature sun hovering over Central Park. Identical scenes were unfolding at gathering points worldwide. People instinctively reached upward, millions of hands extended toward the light, and then something unexpected happened. Instead of receiving humanity's decision, the artifacts began to transmit once more. Not in words this time, but in images and emotions that washed over the assembled crowds. They showed Earth as seen from space, beautiful and fragile. They showed human history, not just the achievements and triumphs, but the struggles, the failures, the hard-won wisdom born of suffering. They showed children playing, scientists discovering, artists creating, ordinary people performing acts of everyday kindness. The message was clear. Before humanity could choose its future, it needed to truly understand its present, to see itself as the artifact creators saw it. The images accelerated, showing potential futures. Humanity reaching to the stars, humanity healing its homeworld, humanity evolving technologically and philosophically. And through it all, a profound sense that either choice, to go or to stay, would be respected. That in that moment of collective awareness, something shifted. The artifact's light changed from blue to gold, and a new message formed in the minds of all present. You have chosen, not with your words, but with your hearts. Humanity's path forward shall not be one of separation, neither complete isolation nor complete integration. You will join the community of worlds, but at your own pace, maintaining your unique identity and independence while participating in the greater cosmic dialogue. The light from the artifacts coalesced into thousands of streams that arced toward one another across the planet, forming a luminous network encircling the Earth. Where the streams intersected, new structures began to form in orbit, gleaming stations that would serve as humanity's first embassies to the stars. The Seeders welcomed their children home, not as subjects, but as equals in potential. The journey ahead is yours to define. As the message faded, the artifacts gently descended to Earth for the final time, transforming into permanent installations, communication nodes linking humanity to its cosmic relatives. In Central Park, Nova found herself laughing and crying simultaneously, overwhelmed by the implications of what had just occurred. Around her, strangers embraced, overcome with the shared experience of cosmic recognition. Reeves stood beside her, uncharacteristic emotion playing across his typically stoic features. "We didn't just pass the test," he said wonderingly. "We changed the parameters." Nova nodded. "That's humanity's greatest strength. We never simply accept the choices presented to us. We forge our own path." Above them, the first lights of the orbital stations became visible in the evening sky. Not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had discovered its origins only to find that its destination remained unwritten. "What happens now?" Reeves asked. Nova smiled, looking up at the new constellation of lights that marked humanity's first steps into a wider universe. "Now," she said, We journey to the stars not as orphans, but as travelers returning home, bringing with us everything we have become. 15 years later, Nova stood on the observation deck of the interstellar vessel Homecoming, watching as Earth diminished to a blue pearl against the blackness of space. As the ship's scientific director, she had the honor of leading humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Cedar homeworld. Beside her stood Admiral Reeves, now commander of Earth's nascent interstellar fleet, a position neither of them could have imagined when Voyager XI first re-established contact. Having second thoughts? He asked, noting her pensive expression. Not about going, she replied, just remembering how close we came to refusing this path. If the artifacts hadn't shown us how they saw us, if they hadn't helped us see ourselves more clearly, fear might have won the day. That was their final test, Reeves said. Not whether we would choose to join them, but whether we could recognize our own worth, our own potential. Nova nodded, and now we are heading to meet our makers, not as supplicants, but as partners, bringing everything we have learned from our childhood on Earth. Our unique perspective, Reeves added. The Cedars themselves said it. We have become something they didn't fully anticipate. Evolution and isolation shaped us differently than their other projects. The ship's engines hummed as the final preparations for the dimensional jump were completed. Soon they would cross the vast gulf of space using technology humanity was still working to fully comprehend. You know, Nova said thoughtfully, anthropologists have studied what happens when isolated human populations reconnect with broader society. There's often conflict, exploitation, cultural loss. You are worried we will be overwhelmed by the Cedar civilization. I'm saying we need to remember our value, not just to ourselves, but to them. Earth gave us something the Cedars themselves may lack, something born of our struggles and isolation. Reeves smiled. Humanity, fuck yeah. Nova logid. I wouldn't put it quite that way in the diplomatic briefings, but essentially yes. We are not just going to learn from them. We have something to teach as well. The ship's PA system announced the imminent jump. As the stars around them began to distort, Nova reflected on humanity's journey, from believing ourselves alone in the universe, to discovering we were part of a grand design, to now carving our unique place in the cosmos that we had not originated on Earth, but Earth had made us who we were. And as the Homecoming leapt toward the stars, Nova knew that humanity carried its adopted homeworld with it. In its resilience, its adaptability, its defiant creativity, and its hard-earned wisdom, we were going to meet our makers not as children seeking approval, but as adults ready to shape our own destiny among the stars. Humanity had come of age.